Horizon Chess Home Studio X, and this is America's Ace of Aces, Richard Bong, Part 2, I guess. I already did the first part a day ago or something. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, this was on Federation, obviously. This has been really awesome video so far. It's about like aces, basically Top Gun, but real, and somehow more awesome. Less all that beach volleyball bullshit, but real things apparently. So yeah, the story has been really good, right? Like he was always a guy who like looked forward to becoming this since he was a kid. He was always like he ran to the roof just to see that plane. In today's world, shit like that doesn't happen, right? That is like we are so inundated with all the information, all the entertainment and media. Stories like that doesn't really happen in today's world. Like at least not in the majority of the world, where like you just get struck by some awestruck by something and you just like follow that because you're like inundated with all different type of things. So this is like that story, and you know he's gonna become like best of the best, but right now he's not. He's giving away his like kills, right? Just so he's like a team, you know, like he's a leader, so like he boost morale, and also like this is what I think. He knows if he becomes too big, they'll just like, oh, we need to protect him, and just like you know, like sending away basically at home, away from the war, which he doesn't want to do. So it's gonna be interesting. I guess this is the last half where he's just gonna go ballistic and just like have multiple kills. So let's watch this one.
He's in the newspapers, he's on the radio, they're interviewing him, he's doing war bond drives, and after a couple weeks he's like tired. To the chain of command, he's like, look, I just want to go back home to Wisconsin, see my family, and hunt some deer and be left alone for a little bit. Can I do that? And they're like, okay, yeah, fine, you deserved it, go ahead. They get him a train, takes him up to Superior, Wisconsin, and he gets to Superior the night of homecoming for the University of Wisconsin Superior, his former college, and he goes to the homecoming event, ends up bumping into the homecoming queen, and they end up becoming a thing. Which, I mean, obviously that happens. I mean, look at the guy. He's clearly the main character. Obviously, he's going to get to date the homecoming queen.
Yeah, he's literally Tom Cruise from Top Gun, right? Literally real life. So the coolness of that.
However, B, this is kind of a crazy scenario to think about that probably happened all the time in World War II, right? I mean, could you imagine being like a high school senior or a college freshman or sophomore that was a dude going to school at this point in time trying to score a girlfriend? Like you go up to the homecoming queen trying to hit on her thinking you're hot shit because you played varsity football, then you find out that she's already being hit on by the deadliest fighter pilot in United States military history. You're just completely outclassed, like you never stood a chance.
You haven't even got a name tag. You got no chance. Why don't you just fall down? Go on, son.
So Bong ends up scoring a date with the homecoming queen. He takes her out to dinner at this diner, and while they're out at dinner, little kids are coming up to their table asking Dick Bong for his autograph in front of the girl that he's trying to impress. So obviously she gets swept off her feet. They fall in love. They end up dating the entire rest of the time that he's in America on leave. And during the rest of the time, Dick is also going out hunting white-tailed deer with his brothers and his dad, and he's also doing a bunch of local news interviews, and he's super modest about the entire thing. He keeps getting asked, you know, how do you manage to shoot down so many enemies compared to everybody else? Why is it you? What are you doing that's different? And every single time he gives an answer that's along the lines of, I don't know, I'm just lucky. I'm just out there flying and shooting, and the Japanese pilots just keep getting in my way. The rest of his leave passes by in the blink of an eye. Marge,
I mean, that might not be that far off though. Like he genuinely might not know like why he's good. I'm just good. Like some people are like, not that it's not, of course it's a talent, right? It's saying like, oh, it's in his DNA, it's BS basically. But somebody, you know, is so good just like, you know, intelligence wise and just like, you know, just like better all around. Even if you like learn something and really put all your A game into it, become best of the best, for you it might be like, yeah, I guess everybody does that. I don't know why I'm different. He might not know that, right? There are too many like, you know, there are F1 racers like that, like who was like 18 and 19 and suddenly like best of the best. Why you like that? Yeah, I don't know, I'm just am type of way. Like even they don't know, like, yeah, just put my A game and this is my A game. I don't know what to say.
Wants to marry this guy, and he wants to marry her too, but he doesn't want to marry her and then go off to war and pass away and then leave her a widow after dating for 6 weeks. So Richard basically tells Marge, the love of his life, like, hey, I love you, I want to marry you too, but I can't do that and leave you a widow. So if you wait for me and I make it back, we'll absolutely get married. And with that, she promises to wait for him. He goes back off to war, but the one request he has before he goes is that she gives him a picture of her that he can have. And she's thinking like, oh, he wants to like stick it on his cockpit or have it in his helmet or in his hat or whatever. So she gets him some pictures and he goes back off to war. So Bong gets back to the Pacific Theater, and he had a little bit bigger plans than having that picture inside of his hat. Because he's, Top Gun, he's the ace of aces right now, he's going to get a custom paint job. That's not an option for a lot of other pilots or other planes, especially in the Pacific where everybody's so short on supplies, but he's the top guy. If anybody's going to get a custom paint job, it's going to be him. So he's getting red.
He's going to pimp my ride. He's going to play NFS Underground, but with planes here.
Nose cones, red
Vinyl
tips, and he's getting that picture painted right on the side of his plane with red cursive that says Marge, and that becomes the name of his plane. He then gets teamed back up with his buddy Tom Lynch because he's back in the picture now too, and then they both get pulled into General Kenny's office, and they both get told they're...
Look, I'm not gonna lie, that's like, I don't know, like, that could have gone wrong, right? Because you don't know how people are and like where people see things certain way, right? So if you name your plane Marge and put a photo there, and like there are people like, okay, did you kill a lot of people using my name, my plane, my photo? There are people like, even though it's like like, it's you're doing for your country, it's like just glory all around. People might be ticked off about that, like, you shouldn't have done that type of shit. So it could have gone either way.
They're no longer going to be attached to the same fighter wing that they were last time they were here, and they both promptly kind of recoil and freak out a little bit, thinking that they're going to ground both of them because they don't want to risk their top pilots. General Kenny, on the other hand, had a completely different idea because he kind of decides he's just going to cut them loose. Basically, you guys are freelancers. You can come and go on whatever missions you want whenever you want to. You're the top dogs.
Black Ops, basically. You're the best of the best. You don't exist. If you get caught, we don't know you. Just kill anything that moves. That's why I brought you. Why do you think I told you that you're the exactly type of person I need after you just like, shit everybody's pants in San Francisco doing that stunt? I'm not sending you home. I'm sending you after Japanese. There you go.
He realizes that this war needs heroes, and these are the best two men to do it, so he's just going to let them do their thing. And this wasn't just unique to these two. The U.S. Army Air Force had actually started doing this with all their top aces, and it ended up being a great strategy and a great plan. It seems weird to us to just kind of let guys pick and choose what missions they go on, but you got to realize at the time, all these top aces were very well publicized. Everybody knew who these guys were. They were basically celebrities. I mean, not just celebrities. These guys were like superheroes to everybody else. You know what I mean? So like, if you were a new...
Basically Neil Armstrong, right? Like, what has he done? Oh, by the way, it's a government thing, by the way, Apollo program, right? Might as well be military. Oh, by the way, it is like military as it can be because it was literally war against Soviet Union. That's why Apollo program was a thing. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the case, right? Sputnik sparked that. So who was Neil Armstrong? He was the first guy to put foot on the moon. Everybody knew. He was like a proper major star. This is equivalent in World War II with aces. Like everybody knows about like this is the famous thing. Like, oh, a plane shooting down multiple planes, like badass people, just that type of way.
Pilot in World War II, and you found out that Dick Bong and Tommy Lynch wanted to go on a mission with you, you felt like you were going to be invincible. I mean, it's the modern day equivalent of like walking up to a GWAT veteran that's about to step out behind the wire to go on an infantry patrol and be like, oh, hey, Private Johnson, did you want Rambo and the fucking Terminator to go on this mission with you? Like, yeah, I do, actually. That'd be dope. So it worked out absolutely incredible. It boosted the morale of pretty much everybody because everybody got to be in the proximity of basically what amounts to a superhero. And then on top of that, it made it impossible for the Japanese to know, like, okay, well, this famous aviator's in this unit, this famous aviator's in that unit. Now they're just moving around all over the place. So at any given time that you try to engage the American Air Force, they might have a main character sitting there waiting to fuck up your entire day. So Dick Bong and Tommy Lynch both get teamed up as
I don't know which games are there, but there are games, right? Like when you become, man, it's like deep into my childhood. Like I'm kind of feeling that, but I can't really remember what I'm thinking of. But there are like systems, right? Where enemies are usually NPCs generic, but there is like sometimes some way you get a special named enemy, right? Amongst the group of NPCs, sometimes just like, what the fuck, look at that, there's a name, right? That type of way. And it's just like better in every way, it's a proper challenge. Basically that kind of thing, right? What was that bike racing game, right? Like where you just hit your opponent with baseball bat. Road Rage? No, wait a minute. Something like that, right? Road Rage. Could be Road Rage. In there are like some Rossi and some name like that, right? Like you know that these are really aggressive people when you come across. It's like fourth place or something. Like you will always kick your ass. That type of way.
men. Tommy Lynch has 18 confirmed kills, Dick Bong has 20, and they go on an absolute tear, going on crazy missions, shooting down everything they come in contact with. They end up earning the nickname the Flying Circus. So this goes on for about a month. They go on a ton of missions together, and then in February of 1944, the Americans intercept a transmission saying that a plane is taking off right now from Rabaul, and it is full of a bunch of Japanese generals and high-ranking military people, and it's making its way over to Wewak, which is right on the edge of their area of operation.
What are you waiting for? Chinese New Year? Go, go, go!
Kenny immediately sends Lynch and Bong, I mean full sprint to the planes on the airstrip, taking off, just the two of them. They fly all the way there, 400 miles an hour, just maxing out their P-38s, trying to get there in time. They hit the Wewak airstrip, and this transport plane with all the military officers just landed, and it's taxiing towards a shelter building. It is at this point that Lynch radios over to Bong and is like, hey, we were in such a hurry to get here. I don't have any of my sight markers set up to be able to shoot accurately. You're gonna have to take this shot. So Bong dives down, strafes this plane, arcs back up, gets ready to do a U-turn to make a second strafing run when the plane blows up completely, and they both dip. They bounce. They're gone. They make their getaway. Now, shooting a plane that's on the ground doesn't count towards your tally for the ace of 8.
The enemy plane. I'm like, the airplane blows up? What the fuck? But no.
However, inside of that transport plane, it was later confirmed that there was a major general, a brigadier general, and their entire staff. So that one plane had a much bigger impact on the war than any singular zero could have ever had. And this really goes to show Bong's integrity, because all he had to do to get that transport plane to count as an aerial victory for his tally for ace of aces was to say that it was like a foot off the ground and it was about to land. His buddy Tommy Lynch would have absolutely signed off to whatever he said, and then that would have counted. But Bong didn't want that, because that's not what happened. He didn't care about padding his stats, because he didn't care about any of that stuff. He was just there to do his job. 1 month later, March 1944, Bong and Lynch are out on another mission, and they are strafing Japanese ships inside of the harbor. They make their first pass, they strafe these ships, they go up, they go to make a second pass where they're strafing, and one of the ships is able to hit Lynch's plane. And the plane goes down, and it was too low to the ground for him to be able to bail out with a parachute, and his body was never recovered. General Kenny being essentially what amounts to Bong's...
And at that speed, in that type of plane, yeah, there is not much of safety if you're that low, right? You hit the plane, and that's like hitting the brick wall in a way, like you're done after that.
Guardian angel at this point, said that Bong appeared to be handling the death of his friend fine. However, I mean, it can't be fine, right? Even if you're putting on a strong face, you know that shit hurts. So he had ended up giving Bong a mission where he was going to taxi down to Australia, and he was going to fly a new plane back, and he had radioed down to Australia, and he told the commander that was in charge of this new plane that Bong was being sent to pick up, hey, I'm sending down one of my guys to pick up this plane and drive it back. That plane is not going to be ready for at least 2 weeks, and if it is, I'm going to demote you at least 2 pay grades. Do you understand? And this was General Kenny's creative way of getting Bong leave without making Bong feel like he was taking leave. To make things even worse, during this time while Bong was away, some random pilot needed to go on a reconnaissance mission, and his plane was being worked on, so he's like, oh, well, I'll just take, Dick Bong's famous plane with the custom paint job that everybody knows as Marge, and I'm just gonna fly out on this recon mission. I'm not going into combat, shouldn't be an issue, and he ends up crashing the fucking plane into the jungles of New Guinea, and it was never found ever again. Until like 2 months ago. So in 2024, they actually did track down this plane. They found it, and fun fact, the only way they were actually able to identify it was because of the red paint that was extremely unique to Bong's custom paint job. So he gets back to base, he finds out that something...
Oh, that is so insane. That's why he made this video, because like 2 months ago, imagine that, like your custom plane, right? You put did she ever seen the plane? Because probably not, right? It was painted, right? And then more war, and like somebody crashed it. Like she probably didn't have a chance to even see it. Probably photos of it or something, I don't know. But now after all this time, now somebody finds it. That is so insane.
Pilot wrecked his plane, doesn't really care that much. He's just happy that the pilot survived and he was okay. Otherwise, he didn't really care. He ends up writing home to Marge and is like, hey, look, I got like 24 confirmed downed enemy aircraft. I got 2 more to go to tie the record. 1 more breaks the record. If I break this record, they're going to give me leave, send me home on a war bond tour, and then I can finally come home, see you, see my family. That's what I really want. That's his new goal. He needs to down 3 enemies because he wants to go home. Next couple of days, he goes out on a mission. Dick Bong wants to down 3 enemies.
It makes sense. He's done a lot of things. He's done a leader's thing, right? Like now Lynch is down. Like obviously it's probably fucked him up, right? It was a right call to send him away 2 weeks because you never know how people handle completely different. It could be opposite, right? But some people just get lost into the job and that's therapeutic enough for them. But there's most of the time, right? It opposite happens, right? They just go into deep and darker hole. And psychology is so fucked up. If you go deeper and deeper, it's going to become near impossible. It doesn't matter how much therapy sessions you do, it's going to be near impossible to like figure anything out. So like it's just gonna get worse, right? If you don't know the path you're supposed to be on, if you go just deep, darker and darker, and don't figure out what's with you, like get therapy or something, it's just gonna become worse.
He's gonna down 3 enemies, and that's exactly what he does. He downs 1, downs another, downs the 3rd right above the water, like 10 feet above the waterline. He absolutely smoked this last 0. Goes back, lands. He's like, "Cool, I just broke the record." And they're like, "Well, actually." There was no film in that random P-38 that you jumped in because, you know, your plane was gone and nobody loaded that spare P-38 up with gun film. And there's only 2 witnesses for 2 of the planes and nobody saw the 3rd one. So now you're just tied for the record, actually. To which Bong is like, I mean, fine, whatever. Goes up the very next day.
Basically playing GTA, like trying to farm money, and then you realize you didn't save the game when you quit it. Like, god damn it, there you go.
Shoots down 1 enemy. Now he's at 27. He's broken the record.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
So now he's got 28. He is the ace of aces. He has had more aerial victories than any other U.S. aviator in U.S. military history. The news breaks out. They're having celebrations, the whole 9 yards. Eddie Rickenbacker, his childhood hero, calls him on the phone. They record the conversation. It's like scripted, so it's kind of awkward, but they record the conversation they have. Eddie Rickenbacker sits.
I mean, it's not gonna be like podcast. Back in the day, like phone, it's like official shit. Right, it's gonna be transcript and proper things, like this is official, like somebody properly writing a letter type of way. You hear all the old calls like that, it just feels like that weird way, right? Like, oh, somebody's putting a gun to your head, why are you talking like that? It's all official, right?
In that case of scotch that he promised. General Kenny gives him that case of champagne that he promised. Now remember, this isn't too far after Prohibition. Giving troops alcohol was controversial when they said they were going to do it.
Wait, what the hell? It's like 24 minutes, 23 minutes or something left, right? What else? Like he has done it. Like there's so much things going to happen now.
It's probably going to be controversial when they actually do it. So General Kenny's boss, General Hap Arnold, actually sends him a bunch of Coca-Cola instead. And then General MacArthur gets reminded of the fact that he promised to send Bong, or whoever breaks Rickenbacker's record, an entire case of champagne. So naturally, MacArthur, being a man of his word, sends that case of champagne. No, I'm just kidding. MacArthur, remaining entirely on brand, proceeds to smoke his corncob pipe while shying away from conflict and having other people handle it for him. He has his staff issue a public statement, more or less wagging the finger at General Kenny and Eddie Rickenbacker, saying that he doesn't think it's appropriate to incentivize young troops with alcohol.
Lying son of a bitch.
I'm sorry, I'm not a very big MacArthur fan and it's showing. I apologize. Anyways, the media goes absolutely crazy and they all show up. They want to take pictures.
Are you sure that there wasn't some giving him the champagne below the table, like unofficially? That could be. Who knows?
Of Dick Bong, America's ace of aces, with his legendary P-38 Marge, and they get there and they're like, oh yeah, that plane crashed. We don't have it anymore. It's not that big of a deal. He only shot down like 4 planes in it anyways. He's just been flying normal P-38s like everybody else the rest of the time. But the Army PR department's like, no, we'll make another one that's an exact replica. So they go, they get another P-38, they paint it up the exact same way, and then he goes and takes a bunch of pictures with it, despite the fact he's never even flown the thing. Not long after this, Bong gets word, hey, you're grounded. You're going to go back to America for a little bit. You're the new ace of aces. We can't be sending you up on missions and having you getting killed. You're way too important. So he kind of sort of got exactly what he wanted. But Bong has one request.
I understand the PR reason. I understand psychology. But it's like, he's your best person. Should you really put away your best person? Because you never know. Like all the Federation stories I've heard, one person can really turn tide. You really want to send your best person home? I mean, I understand, right? I understand the element, but this is war, right? In the end, meat of it is basically warfare. And this is your best pilot.
For Major Kenny. Once he gets back to the States, but before he goes back home to Wisconsin, he wanted to attend gunnery school. To which General Kenny and everybody else in the chain of command was like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're the best fighter ace in American history. Why do you want to go back to school for more training? Then, in what is probably the greatest demonstration of humility and leadership that I've ever seen, Bong goes on to explain to General Kenny that he doesn't feel like he's very good at gunnery. He doesn't feel like he's a good shot. And he tells the general, I don't shoot that great. I just get so close to the enemy I can't miss. At a range, I'm not that good, and I feel like when I was taught gunnery 3 years prior, it was when we hadn't fully developed it, and I feel like they've made a lot of advancements, and I need to go learn that so that when I come back, I can teach all my men that missed out on that training as well. So they agree. They grant his wish. Dick Bong, America's ace of aces, the man that has shot down more enemy aircrafts than anyone else on the planet, is going back to school to learn how to shoot. And then Dick Bong turns around, storms back.
That's insane, right? Yeah, all the people are taught they don't know shit because I don't know shit, right? I don't know how to shoot. We all just get very close and we just look around. Are you kidding me? Is that how you kill? Yeah, that's how I did. I get very close. I wave at those Japanese fighters when they panic, and there you go. That's how it happens.
In General Kenny's office, he's like, oh, and one more thing, okay, one more favor. I want you to look for that other plane that I shot down that film didn't capture and apparently nobody witnessed. I shot it down right above the waterline, pulls out General Kenny's map, puts a circle on it. He's like, it's right there. I shot off its left wing and I shot the cockpit. It's there. I guarantee it. If you get a chance and that section gets cleared, send divers down there. I shot down that plane. To which General Kenny's kind of like, I don't understand why you care so much about this particular plane when you give away half your aerial victories to your guys anyways. But I mean, whatever, sure. If I get a chance to verify that plane's down there,
that's so
I will
true.
happily do so and make sure that you get awarded that aerial victory. Bong never did write down why he cared so much about this particular aerial victory, but I think it was because it was really the first time in his career that his integrity had ever been questioned. He had given away so many other aerial victories, and he was very, very honest and straightforward with his record and what he had accomplished. And the one time...
Yeah, this is so true. It's not about like, like the kill. Like he doesn't care that much. It's like... It's the one thing they're like, we're not sure, and he's like, I did that. It's like one of those pedanticness, right? I don't know if it's integrity, like he said, right? It's like somebody, if there's some rich guy who like gives away thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to charity and things, but somebody steals his $100 and he'll be pissed about that. Try to track down the person just for the $100. It's not about the $100, is it? That type of way.
That he had claimed to have done something that couldn't be substantiated, not having people believe him, I think kind of rubbed him the wrong way, which understandably, it would rub me the wrong way too. Regardless, America's ace of aces heads back to America, goes to gunnery school, and while he's there...
Yeah, I don't think people really said like you didn't do it. It's like matter of like record, right? We need eyes on things. We can't just take your word, even though we know you're not lying type of way. I'm pretty sure they won't be like, okay, he was already like the top guy. It's like one off from being the top. They're not going to like, oh, you're lying.
That sector of the Pacific does get cleared of the enemy, and General Kenny has the opportunity to send divers down, and being true to his word, he does just that. They pull this plane out of the ocean, and fucking sure enough, it was hit 11 times, almost cutting off the left wing and hitting the cockpit, shooting the pilot in the chest and the head, downing the plane. For sure, Dick Bong gets credit for an aerial victory when he's on the other side of the planet. Back in America, he now has 28 aerial victories. Meanwhile, Bong is still at gunnery school, honing his skills, getting better and better, and then finally he gets done with that, and he's like, okay, perfect. Now I'm finally going to go back home to Wisconsin, and I'm finally going to propose to my girlfriend, Marge. But then the big green weenie strikes again, and the chain of command steps in and is like, actually, counteroffer, instead of you going home, what if we paraded you around the entire country to sell more war bonds and made you talk to the news every second of every day? And this is a rhetorical question. You have to do it. To which Bong is like, I mean, okay, it's not great. I would wait.
Yeah, basically they're like money. All the military generals look around, but money. We need money. We need funding. This is how we get funding. Have you seen those new technologies, those guns, those planes? Like, there you go. That's what basically this is. This is for PR shit.
I'd rather go home, but I guess at the end of the day, I'm just talking about flying and doing my job, which I love. So as long as I get to, talk about something I love and tell everybody the truth, I guess I could do that. And that's when the government's like, well, actually, we're going to assign a bunch of PR people that are going to tell you exactly what to say instead. So he goes out, he gets paraded around the country. He hates it pretty much the entire time. And he gets progressively more and more agitated with the situation because he's going from place to place, telling the right answers and not actually how he feels about the situation. It eventually kind of comes to a boiling point when a reporter asks Bong straight up, like, why are you here? Why would they take their best pilot out of the game? And Bong just deadpans, looks the reporter straight in the face and is like, so I don't die. Which is not the politically correct answer that he was supposed to respond to that question with, but it is 100% the truth. Then there's this awkward silence, and the reporter asks another question, and Bong he's finally had enough. Bong just goes, you know what? Just ask that guy over there. He's the PR guy. He knows all the answers. I gotta go. And he leaves. After that, the chain of command is like, okay, fine. Just go back home to Wisconsin. You've earned it. Have some time off, and then we'll figure out where to go from there. So he makes his way back to Superior, Wisconsin, finally catches back.
Wait a minute. This is so true. It's just, when they said like, oh, you have to do this PR tour, he could have like, no, fuck that. No, I'm not doing that. What were they like? What they were like court martial it or whatever the military equivalent of whatever that shit is? No, he's your star. What you gonna do? In the end, they were like, fine, we'll send you home and think about these things later or whatever. They wouldn't have done shit, right? But I guess like Bong is like, fine, let's do it. This is so awesome. Like imagine that, right? Like you're the star. People want to know what you want to say, and there's like some Hollywood writer type of some PR guy. By the way, that's not how things work. I was there. I shot down the fucking plane. I know how things work. No, but that's not how you say it. And just like trying to tell you how to respond. Of course, it's gonna piss people off. Like what? You and your flamboyant imaginary shit is better than my real life experience. Come on.
Back up with Marge, and he wants to propose to her, but there's reporters all over him all the time. And if it's not reporters, it's his family. If it's not his family, it's friends that want to catch up with him. And if it's not friends that want to catch up with him, it's just random strangers that want to meet Dick Bong, America's ace of aces, the war hero. The man is just trying to propose to his girlfriend Marge, and he can't get 5 seconds alone with her. The only alone time this guy gets is when he's taking a dump, and it's driving him nuts, okay? And then one day, finally, he's had enough of this shit. He's in the car with Marge, and he pulls over on the side of the road, and he gets out in the middle of a cornfield and proposes to Marge, and she says yes. And then the media finds out about that. Then they want to interview him about that, and it just makes the attention factor that much more intense. And finally, he's like, okay, I have to find a cockpit. I have to get back up in a plane to get away from people so I can have a moment to think to myself. So he's like, okay, cool. He goes to the nearest U.S. Army airfield in Wisconsin and walks onto base and is like, yo, Dick Bong, ace of aces, I want to fly a P-38, hook it up. Now, I couldn't find out the exact unit or airfield, but presumably it was like a National Guard or reserve unit, so they're like starstruck, and they're like looking at the picture like, you're Dick Bong, and he's like, yeah, I know, okay, just can I fly a plane or not? And they're like, I mean,
you Dick Bong is like, god damn it, it's just good. How long is this going to take? I just want to get into plane and just like, oh my god, it's Dick Bong here. Like everybody gather on like, no.
yeah, I guess. So they let him take a P-38, and then he goes and he's like buzzing his parents' house, and he's buzzing over Marge's house. He buzzes the high school that his brother's in. He's just like doing aerial stunts over Poplar and Superior, Wisconsin, and like nobody's batting an eye. It's just like, oh, that's just our local superhero doing stunts in a P-38 overhead. Then he starts getting a bunch of news coverage for that, which is fine because he doesn't have to talk to anybody or interview about it. He just gets to go up and fly a plane and do cool shit, which is what he loves. So that goes on for a couple of weeks, and then finally his leave is coming to an end. He says goodbye to Marge. They don't get married yet, but they plan on getting married as soon as the war gets over, and then he has to set back.
Oh no. Why do I feel like it's gonna end badly? I don't know. I have that feeling. Is that where this is going?
Back off. He's got one more big press conference before he heads back over the Pacific. So he goes into this press conference. He's being good. He's answering the questions the way he's supposed to, and one of the journalists is finally like, Mr. Bong, have you been paying much attention to the news? And he's like, I mean, not really. It seems like you guys are paying attention to me. I don't have much time to pay attention to you guys. They're like, oh, so have you heard about your 28th aerial victory? And he's like, what? And he goes, yeah, General Kenny actually dug up that plane out of the bottom of the ocean floor and proved that you downed 28 enemy aircrafts, to which Bong is like,
I fucking knew it! Oh!
Hey, what movie is that? Samuel Jackson 7 something? It's a Tarantino movie, right? I remember that.
Fast forward a couple weeks, Bong is back over in the Pacific. He's meeting up with General Kinney, and he's like, okay, here's the plan, Bong. You're going to be an instructor. How about that? And Bong is like, counteroffer, what if instead I do a little bit of instructing and then I get back up in the sky and shoot down all the enemies so I can end this war and go back home and marry my girlfriend? How about that? And General Kinney is just like, you know I can't send you up there. You're the ace of aces. I can't have you getting hurt, okay? And you're going to end the war faster if you're a teacher, right? Because if you train 100 new pilots how to shoot and fly better and you make them even 5% better, and that 5% translates to one more kill for every guy, you've taken down 500 enemy planes, not just the 20 or 30 extra that you can take down yourself. To which Bong is just like, I know, I understand that, but also I want to fly. It's literally all I've ever wanted to do. It's my whole shtick. I've worked for it my whole life. I don't want to talk to the news. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be the ace of aces. I just want to do my job. To which Kenny is like, I know, okay? Just look, train a bunch of guys first, and then if that goes well, I'll figure out some way to get you back up in a P-38. To which Bong is like, okay, fine. For General Kinney, I'll do it. General Kinney's been my #1 guy the entire time, ever since I was in flight school. He's always had my back. If he says he's going to do this for me, I know he's going to make it happen somehow. So Bong goes and proceeds to be the best instructor that he possibly can be. He's going around the Pacific from airfield to airfield, from island to island, training all the P-38 pilots with all the new gunnery techniques that he's just learned and mastered, as well as all the flight techniques that he already knew. And Bong is such a good instructor that after like 6 weeks, General Kinney can actually see in the after action reports that the accuracy and the engagement distances are both increasing for all of the P-38s in the Pacific theater that have gone through Bong's training. After realizing this, General Kinney knows he's got to keep his word to Bong, so he calls Bong into his office and he's like, okay, look, I'm gonna let you go up in a P-38 on a mission. We have a major bombing run, like 100 bombers are gonna go bomb an oil refinery on the island of Borneo, and we're gonna have a bunch of P-38s flying overhead as escort to fight off Japanese fighters if they show up, okay? You can go up with the P-38s. You're not allowed to engage offensively. You can only shoot to defend yourself, and that is it. You are supposed to lay back and observe. So they take off on this mission. It is 35 P-38 Lightnings escorting 100 American bombers to this.
Yeah, if this was today's America or like CIA type shit, the answer would be, we assumed perceived threat and defended ourselves. Bong could do that. Why did you attack? I said defend. Yeah, like I assumed they were going to attack us. Yeah, might as well, just to be safe.
Oil refinery, and on their way there, like 100 Japanese fighters show up. So the P-38s are outnumbered like 3-1, but here's the thing. This is Dick Bong and 34 other P-38 Lightning pilots that have been trained by Dick Bong, going toe-to-toe with 100 Japanese pilots in like mid to late 1944. If you don't know, the Japanese military at this point in time, not doing too hot, especially when it comes to planes and pilots. They had the strategy of, instead of taking out their best pilots and having them go and train the next generation, they just kept them in the field the entire time. And by this point in the war, most, if not all of them, have all died in combat, and all of these new pilots are both A, new guys, and B, they have subpar training because the Empire of Japan no longer has the resources to get them adequate flight time before sending them into battle. And the point I'm trying to get across is that despite the fact that the Japanese had a pretty significant numerical advantage, they still proceeded to get their asses whooped by the P-38 Lightnings. By the end of the skirmish, they had lost 1 P-38, and the Japanese had lost 60 planes. They then proceed, bomb the oil refinery, come back.
Yeah, that is so effed up, the whole thing about Japanese, right? Because that honor thing, right? That's what it is. In America, like, oh, you're our best of the best, we have to protect you. In Japan, it's like, protect you, you're our best of the best. Like, just go out there. It's not honorable to do shit like this. In the end of the end result, you don't have any experienced people, and like, you're in shit now. In the end of the day, end result should matter. Like, common sense should prevail before anything else, but that didn't happen.
Back, mission was a huge success, and then Bong writes his after-action report, turns that into General Kinney. General Kinney, getting ready for bed at night, I presume, having a nice beverage, decides that he's going to read the after-action reports of his #1 guy, and Bong's after-action reports really haven't changed that much at all. He's still very straightforward, very concise, brief, not
Kill 60 people
whatsoever. Dick Bong recorded 2 kills during the battle. All right, so now General Kenny, I presume, a little bit on edge, maybe pouring himself another drink, and he's like, okay, well, I'll read the next line of the text, and he's going to explain to me in detail why this was a very defensive kill, and he had to do this. Next line of text. Both of them were shot within less than 1,000 feet of me. And you know, when you're in a plane traveling 380 miles an hour, 1,000 feet away might as well be touching one another. Doesn't sound very defensive.
he's holding out, like, God damn it, I know how you kill people. I know you got close. That doesn't answer much. Was that defensive or not? I think Bong wrote it that way, like, they were so close to me, I mean, obviously it was defensive. But it's like, either you could have chased them down, right? And you're known to, like, get close and shoot them down. So this doesn't tell me much.
To General Kenny. So next morning, General Kenny calls Bong into his office and is basically like, dude, we had a deal. You were just supposed to be observing, okay? You were only supposed to defend yourself. To which Bong is like, I was. They were both defensive kills. Well, I mean, at least one of them was. And General Kenny's like, okay, whatever. I'm listening. Let's hear this excuse. Okay, well, the first plane I actually did attack, but I only attacked because I was observing like I was supposed to be doing. I was just watching. And because I was the only one observing the battle, I was the only one that noticed the Japanese recon plane that was running away from the battle to go get backup. And I knew that I had to go shoot him down so he didn't bring a bunch of backup. So I went, I dived on him, and I shot him down. And General Kenny's like, okay, fine. Explain the other one. Well,
you know that old saying, the honorable saying? No survivors left. There you go. Somebody was running away. What the fuck you want me to do? Like, of course I have to, like, shoot them in the back. It was kind of, what if they, like, brought more zeros or something?
After I dived on the recon plane, I got back up in formation, and there was a Japanese Zero that made a pass at one of my wingmen, and then he made a pass at the other wingman, and then he made a pass at me, and I wasn't putting up with that shit, so I got behind him and I shot him down. At which point, General Kenny is like, how close? How close did you have to get to the enemy plane to shoot him down? I sent you that fancy gunnery school so you could learn how to shoot people from far away. How close did you get to the guy? Obviously, I'm paraphrasing throughout this conversation, but Bong more or less says, I'm pretty sure my guns were touching the canopy of his cockpit when I opened fire. To which General Kenny at this point is like, dude, come on. You know what? Actually, it's fine. It's fine. We destroyed that oil refinery. The war is coming to an end.
I like how General Kenny in the end is like, we paid for you to get better. Did you get better at least? I was still shooting people up close. Like, yeah, point blank range. That's how I do it.
There's really not many more missions to even send you out on, so I hope you enjoyed your last hurrah. That was probably the end of it. The war's basically over. Everything's fine. Congratulations. You got 30 confirmed aerial victories. Nice round number. You destroyed Eddie Rickenbacker's record. Just good job. Fast forward like a month, October 1944, things are about to heat up again because MacArthur is about to fulfill his promise and return to the Philippines, and he's going to want to make a grand entrance. So he goes ahead and he tells Kenny, hey, report to this airstrip. I want all of your top P-38 aces there. I'm going to meet every one of them and shake their hand, and then we're going to go retake the Philippines. So General McKinney and General MacArthur are at this staging airstrip. All of the top P-38 aces from the entire Pacific Theater are showing up, landing their planes, parking them, getting out, and they are going to shake hands with both the generals. So this is going on, and then General Kenny looks over and he sees Dick Bong getting out of a plane, and he's just like, Bong, Mayor. Bong comes walking up with a big shit-eating grin on his face, greets the generals, at which point General Kenny is like, what? What are you doing here? And Dick Bong is like, what? General, the standing order that I was told was that all P-38 Lightning aces are to report to this airstrip at this time. So here I am. I mean, he doesn't come out and say it, but he basically says, you know, you guys thought you were going to have a badass convention and I wasn't going to show up, really? So General Kenny is like, Bong.
I bet he was the first one there. Like, what is that P-38 Soli? Oh, it's Dick Bong. There you go.
Did you take that order to mean that we were actually going to let you fly combat? To which Bong replies, I don't know, can I? And as soon as he says,
I love how basically like, oh, you think you're going to go up? It's like 30 kills. I'm the Undertaker of this WrestleMania. You can't have WrestleMania without the Undertaker. Come on. I'm the man here. 30 kills. I want to make that 40 now.
And as soon as he says that, the alarm sirens start going off because the radar array has picked up 5 enemy planes headed towards the airstrip. Bong pretty much yells dibs and runs out.
Yeah, just like he's just like Kenny's like, don't do it, don't you dare sneak, and he's just like sneaking in the behind him, just like running to the plane. Oh no!
And gets airborne, and 4 other ace pilots are looking like, was that Dick Bong? We better follow him. So they go with him. They go up there, shoot down 4 of the 5, no problem, and the other one gets away.
How many men does it take to deliver a message?
One.
And one of those kills goes directly to Dick Bong. He's been there for a total of like 15 minutes. He's already scored an air-to-air victory in front of 2 of the generals and pretty much everybody else. The very next morning, Bong volunteers to go out on a non-combat recon mission by himself early in the morning, you know, kind of trying to make it up to the chain of command, like, hey, I can be here. I don't necessarily have to go out on the combat missions, but I love flying. I want to help you guys, like, even if it's just flying out and looking for another airstrip because this one's kind of cramped, I'm happy to do it. That was his intentions. He gets airborne first thing in the morning by himself, and as soon as he gets up in the sky, the fucking tower radios him and is like, hey, we've got 2 enemy planes coming towards the island. And Bong is like, bear in mind, at this point in time, Bong can still only fight defensively. However, he's the only one up in the air that's going to be able to stop these 2 planes before they strafe the entire camp, so sounds defensive enough to him, and sometimes the best defense is a good offense. So he asks the tower, tell me where they're at. The tower tells him where they're at. He makes a beeline towards these planes to intercept them in his interceptor. As Major Bong is making his way to intercept these 2 Japanese planes, the sirens are going off down on the ground because the camp is about to get strafed with enemy gunfire. And people start scrambling, they're running around, they're trying to get planes up in the air, and then eventually everybody realizes, oh shit, Dick Bong is up there, and everybody just gets to stop and gets a front row seat to watch the ace of...
Imagine that, right? Everybody's like panic, oh shit, the zeros are coming. Just like, wait a minute, there's Dick Bong, and everyone just like stops and just like looks up, like they know what's gonna happen, they don't have to run anymore. This is a Marvel level of shit, right? This is like Captain America level of shit right there.
Aces down 2 more enemies by himself, and then he comes back down, lands completely unscathed, and it's just the most main character shit that has ever happened in human history. During this time, Major Bong's writing back home to Marge, and he's like, look, I'm doing good. I got 36. I think if I can get 4 more, I'm going to hit 40. Nice, even round number. And I think they'll finally let me go home because they won't want me out here getting killed. That's his aspiration. He loves flying. He also just wants to go back home and be with his fiance. And then one day the air raid sirens go off, and when that happens, whatever pilots are available jump in whatever planes have fuel and ammo in them, and they take off and they handle the issue. And it just so happens on this particular day that some random military pilot by the name of Captain Davis goes and jumps in Major Bong's plane to go up and handle the issue. And as soon as he gets airborne, for whatever reason on this particular day, Major Bong's P-38's plane has an engine blow up, causing him to lose control of the plane and crash it back into the island, killing Captain Davis pretty much instantly. The initial reports were saying that Major Bong was killed in combat. However, everything would get figured out and settled within a couple of hours, and everybody would realize that America's ace of aces has somehow yet again, by seemingly a random act of fate, avoided death. After this, General Kenny realizes he has to get Bong out of here and back home. The kid has earned it, and the best way he's going to be able to get him out of here is to get him the Medal of Honor. So he goes to the chain of command and he's like, hey, I want to get Dick Bong the Medal of Honor. To which they're like, okay, for what? And he's like, what do you mean?
Everything.
Here's the dates that he's been in the Pacific Theater. Point to a random date on the calendar. I'll tell you what he did on that day that probably deserves this Medal of Honor. So General Kenny ends up writing up his Medal of Honor citation for shooting down 8 enemy planes between October and November of 1944. Despite his paperwork being expedited and rushed, Major Bong still manages to shoot down 2 more enemies while that paperwork is getting finalized and before he's actually awarded the Medal of Honor. So
Kenny's on the phone like, God damn it, how slow are you? Just like he hears 2 planes getting shot down. He's still up in the air. Come on, where's the Medal of Honor?
He actually shot down 10 enemy aircrafts in that span of time. They couldn't go back and change the paperwork to give him credit for the other 2 on the citation without restarting the entire filing process, so they just left it because the ultimate goal was to actually get him out of theater. So December of 1944, they have a ceremony, he is awarded the Medal of Honor, and the very next day, he goes out on a mission and shoots down 2 more enemy planes, bringing his total to 40. The day after that, Bong gets told to report to General Kenny's office. Bong does so. General Kenny sits him down, and Bong already knows what's coming. He is informed that his career as a fighter pilot is over, and that he's going back home.
I mean, 40, yeah.
By January of 1945, he's back in America. He's doing some PR stuff, doing some war bond drives, and by February, he marries Marge and they go on their honeymoon. After their honeymoon, Major Bong
Happy
and his
ending,
wife
damn.
will report to California, where Bong's new assignment is going to be working for Lockheed as a test pilot for America's first fighter jet, the P-80 Shooting Star. This goes on for a couple of months, and on August 6, 1945, the same day that America drops the atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Major Bong goes up for his 12th test flight of the P-80 Shooting Star. Shortly after taking off, black smoke starts billowing out of the engine and he begins losing control of the aircraft, but he's over Hollywood at this point, and if he just bails out and ditches the plane, he doesn't know where it's going to land. It could land in somebody's house, it could land in a school, so he decides that he's going to stay in the airplane and guide it and find an open field to crash this plane into, but by the time he can guarantee that this plane crashing isn't going to hurt anyone, he no longer has time to bail out and have his chute inflate, and he plummets to his death. The very next day, newspapers all over the country read something along the lines of
For
Atomic
fuck's
bomb
sake.
hits Japan, Major Bong killed in jet.
Oh, what a newspaper though, right? Like the atomic bomb news, and just below touching that, like one of the headlines, right? Obviously, atomic bomb is the headline, but that is as good as a headline you can get, right? Man, last 2 minutes, I'm like, oh, look at that. He went home, married. So this is going to end, well, like he's going to live to 80, 90 years old, like old guy, whatever. Oh, of course not. Usually this is what happens with a fighter pilot, like even in the, like test flight, this and that, there is a chance something will go wrong.
Jet accident. Major Bong was 24 years old when he passed away. He worked his entire life to become a fighter pilot, and he ended up being the greatest fighter pilot in American aviation history. He wasn't trying to necessarily be the best fighter pilot. He certainly didn't care about being the best fighter pilot. He just was. He flew 126
24.
combat missions in World War II when the average pilot at that point in time only flew 30. He's credited with downing 40 enemy aircraft, and that's not including all of the probables, and it's certainly not including all of the ones that he basically shot down and let his men finish off so that it could improve their morale. So in conclusion, that is the absolutely incredible story of America's ace of aces, Richard Bong. Thanks for watching. Best way to support the channel is go check out some merch at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out. I wasn't about to cry. Onion cutting ninjas have infested my office again. I gotta go.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, he's crying, right? When he said that, like, yeah, that was intense, man. Even I'm like, what the fuck? My first response was like kind of like inside anger, like fuck me. I just thought it's ending well, man. After this long of a video, after like in the middle, I assume like, oh, something's gonna go bad, and then I'm like, wait a minute, something's not good. Something is actually being positive. Look at that. He's gonna, like other people, like he's gonna live like 80, 90, even after getting, like being in this kind of a water thing, right? Somehow he's gonna live 80, 90. No, the last moment with the test pilot. That's it. This was such an insane story, man. So, again, like you can make Top Gun and all that bullshit movie, but you can't make a movie about this. Like, you don't even need script. This is the script, right? How many videos of Electrician have said this? This is insanity, right? And I like how they found the plane, right? His plane that actually fell in the jungle just like 2 months ago, which is awesome. I guess I can put it in some museum or something. But yeah. At least, there are, like footage of him doing things like all that, right? Those photos of like 40, stickers or whatever that is, right? Mementos or whatever, right? Yeah. Man, he was really, in the end, he was really going OP, while like other guys like, oh, we have to send him home. Like, he's not going to stop otherwise. Alright, well, that was America's Ace of Aces, Richard Bong, my channel Flying Circus. If you like my next one, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.